Good day to our senior high school learners and to our social science enthusiasts. I am Sir Edward and welcome to another episode of UCSP with Sir Edward. For today's topic, we will discuss enculturation and socialization. This is lesson number 6 for UCSP, Understanding Culture, Society, and Politics. For this particular topic, we will discuss the importance of socialization as an important tool for social interaction and for imbibing and learning culture and tradition in a particular society. Let's start our discussion for lesson number 6, Enculturation and Socialization. Let's start now with our discussion, but before that, let's have first an introduction or background for our topic. Self is considered as a product of social process. We develop our personality, we gain new knowledge, we gain understanding of the world through social interaction. Self emerges from social interaction like socialization and enculturation. Let us define now the meaning of the word socialization. Socialization refers to a lifelong social experience by which people develop their human potential and learn culture. It is considered as a lifelong social experience because as we go and as we get along with other people, we tend to gain new knowledge, new experiences, new realizations, and new understandings based upon our interaction with other people. That is why socialization is considered as a lifelong social experience. We have here the following agents of socialization. We have family, friends, school, the church, the socio-civic group, and even interest group. They are considered as the tools or instrument for socialization. Let's now discuss the meaning or the concept of socialization. Socialization refers to the process of social influence through which a person acquires the culture or subculture of his or her group, and in the course of acquiring these cultural elements, the individual self and personality are being shaped. Socialization is very important to the life process of an individual because it enables a person to learn the different cultural languages, norms, values, and one's roles in the society in order to fit in the group. So say for example, even when we were born as a baby and as we continue to grow, we tend and we learn to socialize first with our family, then with our playmates, with our friends, then later on with our schoolmates when we enter, for example, in school. Those are what we call as the process of socialization. When you get along with other people, then your personality is being shaped and you tend to learn the language, the customs, tradition, the norms, and the values of a particular group or group of people or in a particular society or community. Now, we have two processes of socialization. The first process is what we call as enculturation. Enculturation is the process by which people learn the requirements of their surrounding culture and acquire the values and behaviors appropriate or necessary in that culture. Enculturation can be defined as the process of learning with the help of which an individual grasps the rules, norms, and values of a particular culture or society of which he or she is part of. So we need to emphasize this particular concept. When we say enculturation, a person learn or imbibe the culture in which he or she is part of. Say for example, we went to school and we tend to study the values of the Filipino values, our history for example. This is an example of enculturation. When you learn your culture or the culture of your society, this is what we call as enculturation. Here, learning means understanding and acquiring the traditional content of the culture, observing the other members of the society like parents, family, teachers, friends, acquaintances, relatives, etc., or even getting instruction from elders and experiencing things that take place is considered as enculturation. As what we have mentioned earlier, enculturation refers to the learning of our own culture. So say for example, one of the best example of enculturation is schooling. In school, we tend to learn our culture. We tend to learn the different culture and traditions of our country. For example, is the celebration of Buwan ng Wika. During this festive celebration of Buwan ng Wika, students tend to learn and tend to participate in different contests sponsored to celebrate the Buwan ng Wika. Like for example, the Sayawit, even the Sabayang Pagbikas, and this is considered as enculturation. Or the events sponsored by the Araling Panlipunan teachers like the Buwan ng Kasaysayan, or even the celebration of the Junior Senior Promenade in which uh, learners, for example, in the junior high school, tend to learn social graces as part of the program of the JS Prom. This is considered as an example of enculturation. Enculturation is a process of socialization to maintain the norms of one's heritage and culture, including the important values, ideas, and concepts. To understand more about enculturation, we can see that Filipinos give more importance to their cultural values despite the challenges we are facing. One good example here is the rise of what we call as the community pantry, which became popular on the earlier part of 2021. This is an example of the modern day concept of bayanihan, in which despite the difficulties that we experience because of the pandemic, it is still intrinsic on the Filipino culture to help one another. And this greatly manifests on the different community pantry that rise or that rose during the time of pandemic. The second process of socialization is what we call as acculturation. Acculturation refers to the cultural transformation of an individual or a group to adapt according to another culture. When you're learning to adapt to a different culture, this is what we call as acculturation. Acculturation means the cultural contact and interchange process wherein a human being adapts, learns, and adjusts to some or great extent as for the values, rules, patterns, and practices of a new or prevailing culture in the society, which is not their native culture. Acculturation is primarily found amongst the people who migrate from different countries who try to incorporate the new culture in their lives. It takes place when people belong to different culture comes into contact with one another, wherein the people adapt traits of a new culture or take part in another culture. Best example here is the way our OFW lives in USA or in America. Uh, the OFW in the US area learns how to celebrate Thanksgiving. Whereas for us in our country, we don't have the Thanksgiving celebration, but as a way of adapting and adjusting to the new culture or to their new environment, Filipinos in the USA tend to celebrate Thanksgiving. Like for example, preparing dishes, hearty dishes, like for example, bake or roast turkey or even mashed potato to celebrate this Thanksgiving celebration. So basically, when you adapt the culture of another country, this is what we call as acculturation. And the best example of acculturation are those who migrate to another country and learn to adapt the culture of another country. Let us distinguish now the difference between enculturation and acculturation. Enculturation is the cultural learning process in which an individual comes to know about the rules, values, and behavioral patterns of his or her own native culture. So say for example is schooling, when we tend to learn our culture, this is enculturation. Enculturation is the first and foremost introduction of a person to the culture, which takes place just after birth. So say for example, when you're being taught by your parents to read or to ride a bike, this is an example of enculturation. In enculturation, a person learns or acquires one's own culture to which he or she belongs. Meanwhile, when we say acculturation, it refers to a process of cultural learning wherein the members of a particular cultural group get influenced by another culture by coming in contact with it and adapts it to some great extent. Acculturation is a subsequent familiarization with different cultures. And in acculturation, one's culture is subsumed by another culture. After we have discussed the two processes of socialization, and that is acculturation and enculturation, let us now discuss the three goals of socialization according to J. Arnett. First, socialization teaches impulse control and helps individual develop a conscience. Second goal, socialization teaches individuals how to prepare for and perform certain social roles, occupational roles, gender roles, and the roles of institutions like marriage and parenthood. Now, this is where the agent of socialization comes into the picture. Best example here is the school. The school is a institution wherein individuals are being prepared to perform their social roles in the future. So say for example, if you're taking the strand of STEM or science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, then you are being prepared for your future role like for engineer or architect or a nurse. Whereas if you're taking UMS, then perhaps you're being prepared to take on a role of a teacher, a future social worker, or even a lawyer, for example. And the third goal of socialization is it cultivates shared sources of meaning and value. People learn to identify what is important and valued within a particular culture. Best example here is the use of po and opo. Without socialization, the use of po and opo would not continue to exist. Without socialization, the practice of mano po would not continue to exist up until the present times. Let us now discuss the different agents of socialization. When we say agents of socializations, these are the different institutions that are responsible for the socialization process of an individual. The first agent of socialization is what we call as family. This is the first agent of socialization. Basically, our parents and even our older brothers and sisters, our grandparents could be our first mentor or our first teacher. The principal socializer of younger members of the family are our parents. It teaches members how to behave in socially acceptable ways, develop emotional ties, and internalize values and norms. We learn all those things in our family. Aside from that, individuals share the patterns of the larger culture but still retain the values and behavioral traits learned from their families. The second agent of socialization is school. School is an institution wherein it molds the beliefs, values, and attitudes of the students through different academic and social activities. It also equips students with skills that will enable them to fit into a larger society. It also teaches students to learn the value of self-improvement and hard work through different classroom activities that give them opportunities to apply their knowledge and skills. So therefore, all the different performance tasks and activities being given to you by your teachers are all part of the socialization process. It not only develops your cognitive skills but also develop your social skills. Thus, preparing you for a much bigger responsibility in the outside world. School also serves as a latent function by socializing children's behavior and teaching them about citizenship and national pride. The third agent of socialization is the mass media. It distributes information to a wide audience via television, the newspaper, radio, and of course the most popular, the internet. It characterized as non-proximate agents of socialization. It enabled people to learn about objects of material and non-material culture. It also influenced the way people look at the world and make them change their views. So say for example, at the height of this community lockdown implemented because of the pandemic, the mass media has a very important role among those agents of socialization aside from family by delivering information and news that we need the most, especially in these times of health crisis. To continue for mass media, through mass media, cultural learning, individuals have a chance to communicate and imitate the behavior of other people. A good example here are the millennials in our country who have easily adapted the cultural learning of other countries, most especially the Korean culture. They love eating Korean food. Like for example, this explains the reason why the samgyeopsal became popular nowadays. They also have this fascination not only in Korean food but also in watching the K-dramas, listening to K-pop music, and even imitating the fashion style and dance moves of their favorite Korean pop artists, diba? That perhaps explain the dominance, for example, of the Korean boy band BTS, all because of the influence of mass media. It influenced our preferences, our style, even our behavior and values. That's how powerful or impactful mass media as an agent of socialization. Next agent of socialization is religion or church. It exerts a great effort on great influence on a person's view. It also legitimizes social practices. Church or the religion provides stability to society and a source of social change. It also teaches participants how to interact with the religion's material culture and create social solidarity in the society and a source of spiritual growth. Another agent of socialization is the government. Government is considered as the ultimate source of authority in a society. It also participates in socialization to the implementation of the laws of the country. Best example here is that during the height of the community lockdown, because of the pandemic, we felt the presence of our government. We felt the presence of the local government. Say for example, for the distribution of the SAP, and even, for example, for the rollout of vaccine. The government is the main agent of socialization responsible for establishing peace and order and implementation of laws in our country. Government also regulates the behavior of its citizens using rewards and sanction. You give rewards for obedience and you give sanction for not following the rules and laws of a particular provision in our country. Government also promotes the general welfare of the people. This explains why our government continues to implement programs in order, for example, to curb the spread of virus and to normalize and to so that we can return to the new normal despite the presence of the virus. And of course, another example or another agent of socialization is the peer group. I guess aside from family, the peer groups is the agent of socialization close in our hearts. Our friends, our schoolmates, they have a big part of shaping our preference, our values, and our personality. So now that we're done with the agents of socialization, let's discuss now the theoretical foundation for the development of the social mind. And this is based on a study of Mead. Mead and the development of the social mind. Self, according to George Herbert Mead, develops through social interaction. In the absence of social interactions, a person may develop as a biological entity, but he or she will be without the sociality that makes individuals full-fledged members of their society. Now we have here what we call as the feral children. Feral children are human children who have lived away from human contact from a very young age and have little or no experience of human care, loving, or social behavior, and crucially of human language. Feral children are confined by humans, often parents, brought up by animals, or live in the wild in isolation. So, for you to understand more feral children, think of the lead character in Tarzan or in the Jungle Book, wherein they are considered as feral children because they were not raised by human parents. Instead, they were being left behind in the middle of the jungle, and they're being raised by an animals. This explains why human interaction is important and essential for the development of a human person. We have here four stage of process for the development of the self according to Mead. The first stage is what we call as imitation. As child, we learn to imitate the actions of other people. We learn to imitate their language, their behavior, and their action. That's why, as I have mentioned before, social interaction is salient and important. Second process is play. By play, we gain an understanding of the different social roles. That's why it is important for the children to experience playing so that they would have an understanding of the different social roles that they play in. Number three is game. Game is also important because it game give us an organization to define and to emerge our personalities. We tend to socialize because of game. We tend to develop not only our skills but also our personality. And lastly, generalize others. Based upon our interaction with other people, we tend to have a concept or idea of other people. Thus, we have the ability to have a generalization of other people. Next is identities and identity formation. So we have here different terminologies related on this particular part of our lesson. Identity formation refers to the development of an individual's distinct personality. Individuals gain social identity and group identity by social affiliations. Self-concept is the sum of a being's knowledge and understanding of his or herself, while cultural identity is one's feeling of identity or affiliation with a group or culture. So say for example, if you belong, for example, for the Kapampangan in Pampanga, then your cultural identity is Kapampangan. If you're from the northern part of our country, say for example, Ilocos, then your cultural identity is an Ilocano. I, for one, who was raised in the NCR, my cultural identity is Katagalugan or being Tagalog. Ethnic identity is identification of a certain ethnicity. National identity is an ethical and philosophical concept whereby all humans are divided into groups called nations. So for us, our national identity is Filipino. For ethnic identity, if you belong to a particular ethnic group. And lastly, we have religious identity. It is the set of beliefs and practices generally held by an individual involving adherence to beliefs and rituals. And we have here status and role. So this is the last part for our discussion, the discussion for status and roles. Status refers to a social position that a person holds. A person's status can either be ascribed or given or achieved, which means accomplish. An ascribed status is a social position a person receives at birth or takes on involuntary in life. Say for example, being a son, being a daughter, being a Filipino, being a teenager as you are now, or being a widower. So this is a social position you receive either at birth or involuntary in life. While unachieved status refers to a social position a person takes on voluntarily that reflects personal identity and effort. For example, being an honor student, being a boxing champion, a nurse, a software, or even a thief. When we say achieve status, this is a status based on your choice, based on your decisions in life. So say for example, one is not born automatically as an honor student. And being an honor student is a product of hard work. It is a product of perseverance. Same goes for example for being a nurse. Not everyone is born to become a nurse, but you become nurse because of your hard work and dedication to your study. The term status set refers to all status a person holds at a given time. So say for example, for my status set, I am a teacher but also at the same time, I am a class advisor and at the same time, I am also a content creator in the YouTube providing video lessons for senior high school students. Now, let's go back now to differentiate the concept of ascribed status and achieved status. Let's have here an example. Heart Evangelista, as we all know, is considered as an example of ascribed status. As we all know, and a common fact, Heart Evangelista's family is known to be wealthy and rich. And she was born, diba, with a silver spoon on her mouth. So, her status in life, being rich, is considered as an ascribed status. Whereas, the status of Senator Manny Pacquiao being considered as one of the richest person in our country is considered as an achieved status because we all know the fact that Senator Manny Pacquiao was raised on a poor family, but because of his hard work, but because of your perseverance to improve his craft, especially in the field of boxing, he became what he is right now, a politician and considered as an aspiration in the field of Philippine sports, in the field of boxing. At the same time, making him as one of the wealthiest person in our country. Next is the concept of roles. Role refers to the behavior expected of someone who holds a particular status. A person holds status and performs a role. If you have the status of a student, you must perform the role of attending classes and completing requirements, vice versa of a teacher. If I have the status of being a teacher, I must perform the role of teaching and educating my students and preparing instructional materials. Role set refers to a number of roles attached to a single status. Say for example, what is the role set of being a film director? It is the task of the director to assist and facilitate, for example, his or her actor. It is also the task of the director to oversee the complete production of the television or the film they're currently working. Same, of course, with a nurse or being a teacher. Now, role strain happen when a roles associated with a single status clash. For example, is the role of being a teacher. Being a teacher entails a lot of responsibility. If you're having a hard time managing your role as a teacher, as a homeroom advisor, as a club advisor, at the same time accomplishing paperworks and preparing instructional materials all at the same time, then you might experience role strain. Kapag nagsasama-sama or nag-iiba-iba na yung mga responsibilidad mo sa isang particular na status, that is what we call as role strain. And lastly, we have the role conflict. Role conflict happens when there's a conflict among the roles connected to two or more status. Say for example, is the role of a female teacher. She is not only a teacher, but she is also a housewife. She is also a mother who need to attend to the needs of her young with her children, and also a daughter who need, for example, to take care of his old parents. So when you have a conflict on doing your role to different status, that is what we call as role conflict. So for us to have a recap of our discussion, we discussed the concept of socialization. And socialization refers to a lifelong social experience by which people develop their human potential and learn culture. We have two processes of socialization. Enculturation is when you learn your own culture, and acculturation is when you learn to adapt the different culture from different country. We have the different agents of socialization. These are responsible for the socialization of an individual, family, school, church, media, government, and even our peer mates. We also learn that self develops through social interaction according to Mead. That's why interaction is essential for our growth as a person. And lastly, we also identify the difference between status and a role. A status refers to a social position that a person holds, while a role refers to the behavior expected of someone who holds a particular status. And that ends our discussion for today. I hope that you learned something from today's topic. So, see you again next time for our new topics for UCSP with Sir Edward. Have a great day and stay safe always.